Have you ever crossed paths with someone and felt an instant, deep familiarity as if you'd known them long before this life? Or walked into a place for the first time, only to be overcome by a strange, haunting sense of déjà vu? Edgar Cayce, known as the most thoroughly documented psychic in American history, gave more than 14,000 life readings, many of which uncovered a profound truth. We do remember our past lives, just not in the way we expect. Over the next 28 minutes, I'll walk you through Cayce's extraordinary discoveries, why those memories are hidden from our conscious minds, and how you can begin to access them for yourself. If you've ever been curious about the roots of your deepest fears, your unusual talents, or the inexplicable connections you feel with certain people, stay with me. What you're about to hear may forever shift the way you understand your soul's journey. The year was 1923. Edgar Cayce was about to conduct a reading that would challenge the very foundations of his Christian faith. Arthur Lamers, a wealthy printer from Ohio, had urged Cayce to look beyond his usual focus on physical healing. What emerged during that session would take Cayce into spiritual realms he never anticipated. He began speaking of reincarnation, karma, and the continuity of the soul. But what shocked everyone in the room, including Cayce himself, was this: forgetting our past lives isn't a mistake or a failure in the system. It's a sacred and intentional part of how the soul grows. Before we go deeper into why we forget, let me ask you something that may shift your view of memory itself. Why is it that a 3-year-old child can sometimes speak with perfect clarity about places they've never visited? Or why do certain children carry intense phobias with no link to anything in their present life? Cayce's readings explained that young children often do recall past life memories, but it's the adult world that trains them to forget. In reading 20671, Cayce described a little boy who suffered from terrifying nightmares of drowning memories, it turned out, from a previous lifetime lost at sea. His well-meaning parents dismissed the dreams, telling him they weren't real. And within months, the memories dissolved, overwritten by the logic and limitations of the adult mind. Cayce said this is what happens to nearly all of us, usually before the age of 7. But here's the deeper revelation that Cayce's life readings brought to light. Our souls choose to forget the details of past lives when we incarnate, not to erase our growth, but to carry forward the essence of what we've learned. The lessons, the gifts, the emotional imprints. Think of it this way. Imagine waking up every morning remembering not just yesterday's challenges, but every moment, from every grade you've ever been through, every exam, every failure, every moment of pride or humiliation. You'd be so weighed down by the past that you couldn't truly focus on the present. Cayce's readings showed that our higher selves, working closely with spiritual guides, intentionally place a veil over our past life memories. This veil isn't to limit us, but to grant us the blessing of a fresh perspective in each incarnation, while still allowing the soul's deeper wisdom to guide our journey. But here's where it becomes truly extraordinary. This veil of forgetfulness, it's not absolute. It's intentionally designed with openings, allowing certain soul memories to slip through when we need them the most. In just a few moments, I'll share with you the life reading that left even Edgar Cayce's trusted stenographer, Gladys Davis, in awe, a reading that revealed how birthmarks and physical ailments may be the soul's own way of holding on to past life wounds. But first, let's explore the most common ways these soul memories try to reach us. According to Cayce's readings, our bodies are not just physical vessels, they are living archives of the soul's long journey. In reading 2886, Cayce described a woman who bore a birthmark just below her left breast. That exact location, he explained, was where she had been fatally stabbed in a previous lifetime. Even more astonishing, her husband from that same lifetime had reincarnated with a mark in the very spot where he, too, had been wounded. Both had carried those scars into the present as subtle reminders of a deeply shared trauma from the past. This insight changes everything about how we view physical suffering and irrational fears. That persistent back pain, it may not be just from bad posture or stress. Cayce's reading suggested that chronic conditions often have roots in past life experiences, injuries, sorrows, or unresolved trauma that the soul is still healing. Again and again, the reading showed that when people understood the spiritual origin of their suffering, healing became possible not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually as well. But perhaps the most profound doorway to past life memory is found not in the body, but in the quiet landscapes of the mind. Cayce revealed that our dreams are one of the soul's clearest channels for memory. In reading 294136, he explained that when we sleep, the conscious mind steps aside, the soul becomes active, and in that sacred space, past life memories can rise often in the form of vivid, unforgettable dreams. One remarkable case in the Edgar Cayce archives tells of a woman who kept dreaming she was a young man in ancient Egypt, working as a temple scribe. The dreams were incredibly detailed. She could recall specific hieroglyphs and describe the architecture with uncanny precision. When Cayce gave her a life reading, he confirmed what her dreams had been whispering all along. She had indeed lived in that ancient time, and her current talents with languages and history were soul gifts carried forward from that very incarnation. And this brings us to one of Cayce's most transformative teachings. We don't reincarnate among strangers. Time and time again, Cayce spoke of soul groups, familiar souls who journey together across lifetimes, taking on different roles to help each other evolve. That person you feel magnetically drawn to, the friend who just gets you, the family member with whom there's constant friction, despite your best efforts. According to Cayce, these are likely soul companions, spirits you've walked with before, navigating karmic patterns and mutual lessons over many lifetimes. In reading 15791, Cayce shared the story of a mother and daughter who couldn't stop clashing in their current life. He revealed that they had once been sisters in ancient Greece, rivals, bitterly competing over the love of the same man. That unresolved rivalry had followed them into their new relationship, but now they had been given a new chance, a divine opportunity to transform competition into compassion and conflict into deeper understanding. But here's what makes all of this truly transformational for your spiritual journey. Cayce revealed that once we become aware of our soul connections, those deep ties that transcend lifetimes, we can make conscious choices to heal karmic wounds and begin forming new, life-giving patterns with the souls around us. Now, you might be wondering, if forgetting past lives is part of a divine design, how can we safely retrieve those memories when we feel the need to? Cayce's readings offered clear guidance on this, and I'm about to share the method he personally recommended. First, it's important to understand that past life memories should only resurface when we are spiritually prepared to integrate them with humility and growth. Cayce often said, recalling that you once lived and died peacefully beneath a cherry tree in your grandmother's garden may not serve your current soul purpose, but remembering how you once harmed someone with careless words and choosing to speak kindly today, that is true spiritual advancement. This is why Cayce's readings always came with a powerful disclaimer. Only information that would be useful to the soul's present development would be revealed. The soul itself, along with loving spiritual guides, watches carefully, only allowing memories to emerge when they can be a blessing, not a burden. So, what's the safest way to access past life information when the time is right? Cayce taught that the key lies in meditation, combined with prayer for spiritual discernment and protection. But not just any kind of meditation. He provided specific steps, still practiced today at the Edgar Cayce Foundation in Virginia Beach. It begins with entering a deep meditative state, then inviting divine guidance from the highest, most loving spiritual sources. Instead of trying to force memories to come forward, you hold a quiet, sacred intention to understand current life challenges or repeating patterns from the broader perspective of the soul. And when you do this with sincerity, the right insights will surface at the right time, often through dreams, subtle impressions, or perfectly timed synchronicities. But there's one more essential truth you need to know, one that explains why some people seem to recall past lives effortlessly, while others struggle to connect with anything at all. Cayce's readings revealed that this ability is linked to the soul's maturity. In reading 5749-14, he explained that younger souls, those newer to earthly incarnation, often lack conscious access to past lives simply because they haven't yet developed the inner framework to interpret that information wisely. On the other hand, older, more experienced souls, those who have walked many lifetimes, often carry more intuitive access to their soul's memories, not because they're more special, but because they're more likely to use those insights for growth, service, and healing, rather than ego or curiosity. This explains why some individuals are naturally drawn to spiritual teachings, meditation, or metaphysical inquiry, while others feel little interest at all. According to Cayce, it's not about being more enlightened or more evolved, it's simply about where each soul stands on their unique, sacred path of development. And this is where Cayce's teachings become beautifully practical, especially in our modern lives. He revealed that we don't always need dramatic regressions or psychic interventions to understand our soul's history. We can look to the life we're living right now, the patterns, the gifts, the struggles, and they will point us to the soul lessons we came here to remember. Those unexplained gifts you carry, they may be echoes of who you've been before. The person who seems to play musical instruments effortlessly, the child who grasps complex mathematics without formal instruction, the adult who feels intuitively drawn to healing work without any training. According to Edgar Cayce's readings, these are often soul skills, talents refined over many lifetimes, carried forward into the present. In the same way, our deepest fears often trace back to unresolved trauma from past incarnations. The fear of water, though you've never had a traumatic experience with it in this life, a phobia of certain places, objects, or time periods that doesn't make rational sense. Cayce found that many of these were emotional imprints left behind by difficult or painful endings the soul hasn't yet fully released. And what about those moments of instant emotional reaction to another person, that unshakable feeling of love at first sight, the inexplicable distrust of someone you've just met, the stranger who feels like family? Cayce's readings revealed these as soul recognitions, subtle echoes of relationships from long ago. In reading 1152-11, Cayce spoke of a woman who felt a deep passion for ancient Roman history and who also had an innate ability to read and understand Latin. When she received her life reading, it confirmed that she had lived multiple incarnations during the Roman Empire, including one as a teacher. Her soul had carried that love of knowledge forward. But here's what makes Cayce's approach so unique and so grounded in spiritual maturity. He emphasized that the true value of past life memory isn't found in dramatic visions or hypnotic regression. It's found in recognizing the soul lessons woven into your everyday life. Every trial you face, every emotionally charged relationship, every personal struggle or repeated challenge, these aren't random. Cayce's readings made it clear. Your soul chose these experiences ahead of time. They are the perfect curriculum for your growth. The details of who you were or where you lived in the past are far less important than understanding why those experiences matter now. The soul brings forward what it needs in each life, what it still needs to learn, to forgive, to transform. According to Cayce, even the circumstances of your birth, your family, your physical body, your geographic location are selected with intention. The hardships you endure, the health challenges, the professional setbacks, none of these are accidents. They are sacred opportunities for the soul's development, chosen by you, for you. And when we view life through this lens, everything changes. We're no longer victims of circumstance. We become conscious participants in our soul's unfolding story, invited to meet each challenge not with resistance, but with curiosity and courage. One especially moving example comes from Cayce's archives. A man suffering from debilitating arthritis, a condition doctors couldn't diagnose or relieve. When he received his life reading, Cayce revealed that in a past life, this man had been a harsh overseer, forcing others to labor in grueling, painful conditions without mercy. His current suffering wasn't punishment, it was a sacred balancing. His soul had chosen to experience pain firsthand, not as retribution, but to cultivate the compassion he had once lacked. And something remarkable happened. Once he understood the spiritual meaning behind his condition, his attitude changed. He stopped seeing the arthritis as a curse and began to use it as a tool for empathy. He found new purpose in supporting others, living with chronic pain. His condition didn't vanish, but his relationship to it was transformed, and so was he. This brings us to one of the most essential teachings Edgar Cayce offered about past life memory. The purpose of remembering isn't to entertain the ego or fuel curiosity. It's to illuminate the spiritual patterns that shape our current lives so we can make more intentional, loving choices right now. In fact, Cayce's readings often cautioned against becoming overly fascinated with who we may have been in past incarnations, especially if those identities involved power, fame, or spiritual authority. He warned that focusing too much on former status could actually hinder our growth. The soul's journey isn't about reliving old glories. It's about applying the lessons we've carried forward into today. Instead, Cayce encouraged seekers to turn their attention inward to observe how the echoes of the past show up in present-day strengths, relationships, and challenges. That recognition, he said, is the key to transformation. And now, let me share with you what may be the most profound insight from Cayce's life readings, a truth about forgetfulness that reveals not limitation, but divine compassion. According to Cayce, between lifetimes, the soul rests in a state of perfect clarity and memory. In this expanded spiritual space, we see with complete understanding all the choices we've made, all the karma we've created, all the lessons we've yet to master, and from that place of soul-level wisdom, we choose our next incarnation, where we will be born, which relationships we'll navigate, and how much memory we will carry with us. And here's why. Too much conscious memory of our past wounds, mistakes, or painful endings could overwhelm us. It could dim the light of hope, making it harder to step into this new life with courage and openness. Imagine remembering every heartbreak, every betrayal, every loss or regret from lifetimes past. Wouldn't it be hard to take the next leap forward? But here's the grace in it all. While the specific memories fade, the soul retains everything it has earned. The compassion, the insight, the capacity to love, the hard-won wisdom from lifetimes of effort. These qualities remain accessible and alive within us. This is why some people seem wise beyond their years, why certain individuals have an almost instinctive understanding of spiritual truth, why others radiate compassion even without having endured great hardship in this life. The soul brings with it what truly matters, and as we grow spiritually, something beautiful begins to unfold. We gain access to more of our soul memory, but only as much as we are ready to use with integrity and purpose. Those who have walked many lifetimes in service healers, teachers, spiritual guides, often have a clearer sense of their past journeys, because that awareness helps them fulfill their current mission. And here's a powerful reminder about Edgar Cayce himself. Even though he gave thousands of readings for others, he initially resisted learning about his own past lives. As a devout Christian, reincarnation challenged his deepest beliefs, but the evidence that emerged through his work was too consistent to ignore. Eventually, Cayce embraced reincarnation as a spiritual truth, not a contradiction of faith, but an expansion of it. The readings revealed that Cayce himself had once been a high priest in ancient Egypt, a lifetime in which he had misused spiritual power, causing harm instead of healing. His mission in this life, offering intuitive insight and healing to thousands, became a sacred act of rebalancing that karma. This deep personal understanding shaped the way he approached his gift, not with pride, but with reverence and humility. As we come to the close of this journey into why we do not consciously remember our past lives, let's pause and reflect on some of the most practical spiritual wisdom. Cayce left us ways you can begin working with soul memory in your everyday life. First, look closely at your natural gifts and deepest interests. What comes easily to you? What brings you joy and purpose? Cayce taught that these are not random, they are clues. They're soul imprints from prior incarnations, talents you've cultivated before. Recognize them, honor them, and ask how you might use these gifts to serve others in love. Second, pay attention to your fears and those intense emotional reactions that seem to come out of nowhere. Often, they are echoes from past life wounds still seeking healing. Don't run from them. Approach them gently, with curiosity. Ask what they're here to teach your soul. Third, notice how certain people affect you immediately, whether it's attraction, trust, conflict, or discomfort. Cayce taught that these responses often signal past life connections. You may be continuing old lessons, working through unresolved patterns, or reuniting with soul companions. Use these moments as invitations for conscious healing. Fourth, learn to trust the messages that come in stillness, especially in dreams and meditation. When your conscious mind rests, your soul memory can speak. Don't try to control or analyze too much. Instead, open your heart and simply ask, what is my soul showing me right now? Then, allow wisdom to arise in its own time. And most importantly, remember that the goal isn't to become obsessed with past lives or identify with who you once were. The true purpose is to recognize how those past experiences are shaping who you are today, so that you can make better, more loving, more conscious choices in this moment. Every day offers the chance to respond with love instead of fear, to choose service instead of self-interest, to grow beyond old cycles and into the soul you came here to become. Edgar Cayce's more than 14,000 life readings revealed a consistent, powerful truth. We are eternal souls in human form, learning, healing, and growing across lifetimes. We forget, not because we are limited, but because we are lovingly protected. This forgetting is not a flaw, it is a gift, a divine reset that allows us to enter each life with hope, faith, and the space to grow beyond our past. Your life now, your relationships, your challenges, your circumstances, they are not random. They are sacredly chosen by your soul as the perfect conditions for your next evolution. And when you remember this, when you embrace your journey as purposeful and holy, you begin to live with deep peace, courage, and trust in the divine process unfolding within you. So if these insights have stirred something in you, I invite you to share this message, subscribe for more, and reflect on your own soul memories, those quiet inner knowings that point to something greater. You are not just a body, you are not just your personality, you are an eternal being, shaped by many lifetimes, and perfectly prepared for the healing and purpose you came here to fulfill. Trust the forgetting, trust the remembering, trust the process. Your soul knows exactly what it's doing.